All right. We had some technical issues here. I don't know what happened. Yeah, sorry about that. Do a quick mic check. Can everyone hear me okay? That was kind of odd. I don't know what happened. It was double intro music. So, but good evening, everyone. It is December the 6th, the first BRAP for the month of December, the last month of the year. 2023 is pretty much gone at this point. We only have a few more weeks left. And what a year. What a year 2023 has been for gaming. And I, again, apologize for that weird intro. That was I was hearing it on my end. It was like double intro music. So I apologize for that. I don't know what happened. But also want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. We are supposed to have Innate joining us. I don't know if he forgot, but Innate, if you're out there, we're live. I did DM him earlier today. He said he was going to join us, but I don't see him online right now. So, anyhow. But yeah, 2023, what a great year. What a great year. We have the Game Awards tomorrow. And that should be a celebration of all things video games for the year 2023. Again, I always find it trivial when people, for whatever reason, just feel the need to act emotionally immature about things that are inconsequential to the grand scheme of things. And it's one of my frustrations about the dialogue around video games. Has been one of my frustrations around the dialogue. Actually, one of my frustrations for the last for a very long time. Actually, I was going to say the last couple of months, but it's been longer than that. And I just feel that it's really unfortunate that the dialogue around video games is really bottomed out in some instances, where the dialogue appeals to the lowest common denominator, and it's not good. Some of it's unhealthy. Some of it is based on false pretenses, conspiracy theories, and I don't know how we got here, but it sucks. It sucks. I saw Greg Miller go off on someone who was replying in his live feed. And I don't blame Greg. I don't blame Greg, Game Over Greggy, for calling this person out for not listening. The BRAP tax, Matty Beast. Yes, the BRAP tax. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for speaking out and just calling out that person in the live chat who clearly wasn't listening. I don't understand why adults act like children when it comes to video games. I mean, it's loser behavior. It's loser behavior. And I've been saying it for a long time. I'm not going to be nice about it. It is what it is. True Simmer says he does all the time. Oh, he actually had, I seen him do it one other time, but I wasn't aware that he does it kind of on a regular basis per se, but anyhow, do me a favor, everyone, if you could be so kind and retweet the link here. I'm not sure if Slow Mo will be joining us. He's currently playing Fortnite, and I'm not sure if Forte will join us. He is currently playing Call of Duty World War III. World War II, actually. Maybe they'll join us later. I know Game Logic will be here shortly. Yes, and please smash that like button if you haven't done so already. All right, do we have any, real quick, do we have any, show of hands here, do we have any wrestling fans, professional wrestling fans? Hit the thumbs up in the live chat if you watch professional wrestling. Or not. All right. Since no one's hitting the... So I was going to do a video about this. No, I said professional wrestling, not amateur wrestling, Brian East. I was going to make a video about this. Look, CM Punk coming back to WWE. Can't say I'm surprised by that. Can't say I'm surprised. Look, the wrestling business is about making money. And CM Punk coming back to the WWE makes sense because they're going to make money. They are going to make a boatload of money with him coming back, especially in light of him being fired, the controversy of his tenure in AEW, which is really unfortunate, by the way. I'm actually watching AEW right now as we speak. AEW Wednesday Dynamite's actually on TBS at the moment. So I'm watching that. But, yeah, it was just unfortunate. His run at AEW was very unfortunate the way it came to an end. I thought there could have been some great storylines there with him and the Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page. They could have taken some of the real-life controversy and turned that to a story. I thought that would have been very intriguing for wrestling fans, but they didn't do that. Now he's going to go to WWE, and you see how clever WWE is and the creative minds behind WWE, how they've placed Punk in a couple upcoming angles, if you think about it. Like Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw on Monday basically alluded to CM Punk, said, hey, I guess, you can leave, get fired, and come back whenever you want. Immortal Black says, hello, BRAP. Why does it take you nearly halfway through the podcast to actually start talking about your topics? Well, Immortal, because it's a talk show. It's a talk show. And if I started talking about all the topics, really the two main topics today, then I would, the show would be done in like 30 minutes. And that's not the show. Yeah, Bender Streets, the Attitude Era was probably the best, but this current run, WWE actually is not bad. It's pretty good. But CM, like I said, CM Punk coming back to WWE, there's a lot of different angles. There was the off-air footage of, if you watch War Games after War Games, Seth Rollins basically dropping F-bombs and giving CM Punk the finger. I mean, they're obviously going to have an angle at some point. Again, I mean, that's based off of, that storyline's based off of commentary that Seth Rollins had about CM Punk. In the interview, he was like, hey, I don't want him back here in the WWE. This was, I think, this past July 2023, with that somebody asked Seth Rollins if he would welcome CM Punk back. So he's like, no, I don't want that cancer here. So now you look what's going to happen. They're going to have this angle down the road, but it looks like he's probably going to be feuding with Drew McIntyre. See, Drew McIntyre was upset at War Games with his return, and then Seth Rollins at some point. But I do think it's a missed opportunity for AEW. I thought they could have done some really good things from a story perspective. So we'll see. All right, let's talk video games, because that's why we're here this evening, as we are every Wednesday night. And actually, I need to let everyone know that we're live before we do that. All right. So as we wrap up 2023, we'll probably do a year in review of 2023 at some point this month. I gotta say, I put about 70 hours into Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate 3, and then I stopped playing it to go play some other games. But I got to say, I'm back into it now, and I think I'm at about 140 hours now. And I got to say, this game is just incredible. It is still my game of the year. It is just a phenomenal game. The voice acting, the writing, the weight of the impact of choices that you make in that game, the surprise plot twist at times. It's just a really well done game. It also highlights to me how much Starfield missed the mark for me. It really highlights that. And again, that's not to say Starfield's a terrible game. I thought Starfield's a good game, but Baldur's Gate 3 just seems to amplify some of the issues that I had with Starfield. I didn't feel the voice acting was compelling. The story, the dialogue, like the dialogue choices didn't have a lot of impact per se. I didn't feel that when I was trying to influence decisions of Starfield for NPCs, that those had any real weight to it. And that's not the case in Baldur's Gate 3. Matty B says Baldur's Gate 3 is my game of the generation. Hey, that's a pretty lofty. I wouldn't disagree with you, Matty B. I think it is up until this point my game of the generation, and I expect it to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards tomorrow. Although you know what, it wouldn't surprise me though. It wouldn't surprise me if Alan Wake 2 comes in with the upset. That wouldn't surprise me either. True Seer wants to know, how hard is it for a guy to fire it up and learn how to play it? It definitely takes some time, Truth Serum. It's got a pretty. You really need to figure out the inventory management system. It's not overly complicated, but there's things you could do like you can gather resources to create potions, things like that. You need to there's different like spells and things depending on your build. There's different spells that you need to manage. So there is a little bit of a learning curve in that regard. But what I've done is I've actually have read a lot on the Reddit page and also watched YouTube videos on Baldur's Gate 3. Like if I couldn't figure something out, there's a lot of content out there, channel content on like tips of Baldur's Gate 3 and stuff. Oh, Seb Walton says if you have PlayStation Plus Premium, you could try it out for 2 or 3 hours, I believe. Oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, if you're on PlayStation and you have PlayStation Plus Premium, you may want to give it a run for 2 hours. I'll give you some insight. I think the game kind of starts out a little slow, but it really does pick up, though. All right, so the Game Awards are tomorrow, and I'm excited. I wonder if we're going to see more GTA 6. I'll talk about the GTA 6 trailer that released earlier in the week. Which I thought that trailer looked great. And you know what's interesting is that I saw the trailer leak on Facebook, believe it or not, the day before the leak started coming out. And I didn't believe it at first because I was like, well, this looks really good. This is not Grand Theft Auto 6. And lo and behold, it's that. So Sam Walton says, Wolverine footage, please. Yeah, I would like to see Sony show us something. I don't think they're going to. I think Sony's kind of an interesting place right now. They, you see narratives. I don't pay too much attention to some of the narratives on Twitter, but there's some interesting stuff going around about Sony and needing to have a presence at the Game Awards, which I'll talk about here in just a second. But before we do that, I want to welcome Game Logic. What's going on, Game Logic?
That's right. How are you?
Good. Hold on a second, Game. Can you do a quick mic check?
Mic check.
All right. I have to turn. For some reason, you're coming low on my end. Can everyone hear Logic okay?
How about now?
No, I'm gonna have to turn you up on my Discord here. right. I just turned you up.
You're good.
Everyone say Otacon Oscillate says he's coming in odd. Yeah, True Sim says he's a little low.
Okay. How about now?
No.
No, that's not for you. You don't have any ability to sound check. I'm really asking the chat.
Oh.
Because I've turned my mic volume up twice since you've been on, and you've said there's been no change on your end, so I know something's going on over there.
Yeah, the chat's saying it's still low.
Really? Okay.
Huh.
How about now?
He's good enough, but not loud enough. New mic?
Yeah, it's the exact same one that I've been using for the last 2 or 3 podcasts. It's the exact same setup on the exact same PC.
That's weird. Let me see. Let me try something here real quick. All right. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. I don't know. Yeah, everyone's saying he needs to turn the... He good, but dudes need to turn... Oh, okay. So Corey Massey's saying you're fine. Okay. All right. Well. All right. Logic. So I was talking about the Game Awards are tomorrow. I saw some chatter today that there's that typical chatter about Sony needs to show up. Sony needs to show something. As somebody who owns a PlayStation console, I'd like to see stuff from them, but I'm not. I don't have my fingers crossed. What do you think, Logic? Do you think Sony needs to show something at the Game Awards? It's all Sam Walt in the live chat say, "Oh, I'd like to see a Wolverine trailer."
Well, let me ask you. Last year, when Microsoft didn't show up, we said that was a miss for them. So why is it that Microsoft needed to show up last year, but Sony doesn't show up this year?
Are you asking me or asking the chat?
You? Anybody listening in the chat?
Yeah, yeah. For me, I think that the difference with Microsoft is, well, it's Microsoft, and their release cadence to me hasn't been as good as PlayStation. But I do feel like we are getting to a point with PlayStation where it's like, okay, like, I know we got The Last of Us Part 2 remaster, and that's fine for what it is. But me personally, I'd like to see them show something. Maybe give us a little more insight into what's happening in 2024 or other games that they're working on. Because I think they kind of they're kind of getting to that point where they've been a little bit too quiet. And the last major PlayStation show they had really didn't do anything for me personally.
I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, that seems rational. I mean, for me, they don't personally need to show anything. Now, again, that's for me personally, right?
Mm.
I'm not a person who, like, I think I was on Doomsayer's show, and he was like, what are you looking forward to next year? What are your plans for next year? And I'm like, I'm just not one of these people who looks at these showcases and plans my gaming out and has my games picked. I just like, what is my plan for 2024? My plan for 2024 is my backlog until there's games with solid release dates announced, that make me pick my head up. So, I mean, for me, PlayStation doesn't need to show anything. I've been satisfied with the console this far into the generation. I expect and assume that, the same will be true, next year. And I mean, I reserve the right to be disappointed right at the end of next year if I look back and I say, hey, not enough stuff came out. But I'm just not one of these people who forward projects, right, that they're not going to be there. Unless, like you're saying, there's been a trend or a behavior pattern or a consistent performance pattern that tells me otherwise. And right now, today, that's not the case with Sony.
Yeah, and that's and for me again, like I would like to see stuff like stuff from them because, and part of that's because of the quality of content they put out. So far with PlayStation 5, like they've done a great job at their release cadence for this generation. Like if I'm out there and if somebody asks me, hey, BRAP, should I get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox? I would lean towards pointing them PlayStation 5, and I could point to a lot of current gen exclusives that they've released on the PlayStation 5 to date.
Well, BRAP, there's this platform that doesn't have any dedicated showcase, doesn't have any dedicated, game award show, doesn't have any dedicated like marketing, and I don't worry about whether or not there are games coming to that platform. Of course I'm talking about PC. I don't go to sleep.
I thought you were going Nintendo, by the way.
Yeah, I don't go to sleep at night or wailing and gnashing of teeth every quarter that, oh my God, nothing's been announced for the PC. There's nothing coming out, and that's because over 20 plus years, right, gaming on PC, there's always been stuff, and there's been more stuff than I have ever possibly had time for. So I don't worry about it. Now,
I don't. Yeah.
When we talk about Xbox, for me personally, right, the reason to worry is because the stuff that I've wanted hasn't been there, and then when the stuff has come out, it hasn't been, as good as I thought it should be. So,
yeah, I think
Microsoft. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I real quick to your point. I think what I find interesting is when people try to compare the two. Like I see Viper XT in the live chat saying, with all the cuts and delays, a clear picture would be nice. I mean, we're seeing cuts and delays across the board. So, I mean, does that apply to the entire industry? Because this isn't just a Sony issue; it's a gaming industry issue, which we talked about, I think, a month ago. And Viper says first party exclusive in 392 days is not good. They need to show more. I mean, considering the development time for first party, we know how meticulous PlayStation is, and we know their track record. I don't put that much thought into that. Like I wouldn't arrive to the same conclusion Viper XT did because
I would take the length of the time argument off the table, just because the Xbox fans have used that in the past too, right? That games take time. That's why they haven't been announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that, but what the difference is that PlayStation actually has delivered content this generation. Like Xbox has one or two true next gen or current gen first party exclusives from, if I'm thinking about Redfall, and I apologize if I'm missing others now. Oh, Redfall, and Starfield is Forza Motorsport. Is that also current gen only? Or is that also Xbox? I think that might be current gen only.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest with Xbox, that's not a parameter that I pay attention to, because with backwards compatibility, I like it really largely just irrelevant on that platform.
Yeah, so I think so. I'll say 3. Someone said Flight Simulator is not a game, by the way.
I disagree, but you go ahead.
No, it's not. The developer came out and said it's not a game, so I'll go with the developer. It's so 3. Okay, let's just throw. We'll throw.
Well, no. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think my point is, it doesn't matter to me whether it's a game or not, or whether somebody calls it. The point is that it is a piece of entertainment that is part of the ROI of that hardware platform. So that's why I'm not dismissive of it, taking it off the table.
It's not a video game.
Yep, it certainly showed up in TGA award categories.
Microsoft needed nominations. Yeah. So no. So we'll say 4 for argument's sake. We'll throw Flight Simulator in there, but I think if the overall body of work, though, you look at what PlayStation's done, with current gen. I just think that the release cadence has been better on that platform, and also just the overall just the track record in general. The PlayStation's history, the track record delivering compelling first party content. Well, I think what we're seeing, I think what we're going to see next year, we'll probably see more second party stuff. Like we're going to see Final Fantasy VII that's coming out, I think, in March of next year, March or February. I don't remember now. I'd have to look up the date again. Let me see here. When does Final Fantasy come out? That's February 29th of next year. We know that Stellar Blade's supposed to be coming out at some point in 2024. So again, I'm not as I would like to see something from them at the Game Awards. But if they don't show anything, I'm not gonna run around screaming that the house is on fire.
Yeah, I mean the fact of the matter is, like I said, I try and typically deal with these things in three parts. Do I need them to show something at the Game Awards? Sure, no, I don't. Does the rest of consumer America or consumer global need them to show something at the Game Awards? I don't know. I mean, there's certainly a small demographic that fills that demand. But if not delivering enough first party games this year, or not putting enough first party games in showcases really had a market impact, then we wouldn't see the sales numbers of the hardware that we see. And so the point is that the tangible evidence of what they've done from a marketing perspective is not yet having a dent, creating a dent or having a negative impact on their sales performance. And so therefore that indicates that the market it appears to not have had its confidence shaken by that lack of first party games and lack of first party marketing. The difference is, and again, this is, I'm not saying this to pick on you. I'm saying that this is a true fact. And if your feelings are hurt by it, then that's a you problem. The difference is that, when Microsoft has an anemic year or doesn't show what they're delivering on the platform from marketing, then that obviously does have a negative impact, on its platform. And I've kind of talked about the same thing, in terms of, say, Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty has a misstep. Vanguard was not a very good Call of Duty. Call of Duty still sold gangbusters that year, right? That IP can afford to have a misstep. It can afford to shuffle its feet. I don't think it can afford to do it 2 years in a row, right? But it can afford to
Logic,
have
can
a
you hear
down
me?
year. Yeah, can you hear me?
Nate, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, can you not hear me, Bert? Chat,
Maybe
can
he
you guys
can't
hear
hear us.
me? So the chat can hear me, but you guys can't.
I can hear you, Logic.
Oh, okay. So BRAP, can you hear me?
And I can hear BRAP. But maybe I don't think he can hear us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that would be a problem if the host can't hear us, huh?
A little bit.
All right, guys, I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I couldn't hear you guys. I don't know what happened. That was really weird. I heard you talking about the marketing or something, and then I saw Nate join, and then I was like, done. Couldn't hear anyone. Yeah. So, Nate, welcome to the show. By the way, thanks. Thank you for coming out. I had to get one of my PC brethren on today to talk about GTA 6. So,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Glad to come.
yeah. So I'm sorry, Lodge. Go ahead and finish your point, man. I don't know if you were still. Again, the last I heard was you were talking about the market impact.
Yeah, I won't go back to it. I was just saying that, consumer confidence appears to not have been shaken by any notion of a lack of first party or a lack of first party marketing from Sony. Otherwise, we would have seen a slowdown in sales. They currently have brand equity that is resilient enough to ride through any notion of adversity that some other people may feel. Will that last into next year? I don't know. But right now, it's fine, and one reason it's fine is because of what is their competitive threat on the market, and for the high end console market sector, they don't really have a competitive threat from Xbox.
Yeah, no, they just don't, and that does concern me a little bit. Logic, where it's like without maybe having that competitive threat, they may not be as I don't know, maybe as aggressive releasing first party content as frequently.
What happens when AMD is not turning wheels, right?
Yeah.
Intel slows down and jockeys, and you have years that you don't see iterations in processor speed and processor cores, right? But then when AMD came back with Ryzen, all of a sudden the core war started, right? And for years, you guys got 4 cores, 8 threads from Intel. And then all of a sudden, Ryzen, Threadripper. Now people have boxes with 16 cores, 32 threads.
That's insane.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I made the move to AMD and didn't leave until the Intel chip you recommended for my current build. And I think that's kind of when Intel kind of got their window into them again.
Yeah. It wasn't really till Alder Lake.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that competition really spurred things along once AMD got going. And like you said, I actually looked back at a processor I had in a build not probably 3 builds ago, and it was like that. It was 4 cores, 8 threads. So yeah, they were on that for a very, very long time until that competition sparked up.
Yeah. And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and so again, these are statements that I'm making not to say Sony good, Microsoft bad, right, or the other way around. This is my point of saying, look, this is the math, and this is what you have to consider. If you want to be mad at Sony for not, having more first-party games in 2023 or not having enough first-party games in their showcase, that's fine for you to be mad, but you need to have the self-awareness to understand that your feeling and your sentiment appears to be running counter to the way the rest of the market feels.
Yep. Yeah. And so then, we talk about Sony maybe showing something or whether or not they show something at the Game Awards. Well, actually, let me go to you, Nate. Do you think Sony needs to show something at the Game Awards?
I think they should. I don't think they need to, though. Like as much as, I'm in the camp of, I'm ready to see the traditional Sony, roadmap. I don't think that's going to come from this. So any teaser or anything they set up for this isn't really going to be enough to get me going. Like what I need from Sony is a full-on showcase. So we're definitely not going to get that from the Game Awards. So, I mean, if they show anything, I think it'll be a second-party type exclusive. Maybe solidifying some release dates from some stuff we already know about, but I don't really think they need to. I think it's going to be mainly a third-party show and probably a Game Pass surprise. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what about Xbox, gentlemen? Like, does Microsoft need to show something big here? We know that Microsoft's telling... there was that advertisement or that notification on Game Pass to tune into this Thursday's Game Awards show. They're going to have some announcements. There's some rumors out there. Good buddy Shinobi 602. Shinobi's been on the show a couple times. Shinobi did suggest that there'll be some announcements that will have a lot of people talking. But he hinted that he wouldn't categorize those as anything like a Deathloop 2 or Dishonored 3. So obviously he's being very vague in that regard. Some people have said, there's rumors going around of Brother: A Tales of Two Sons remake. There's some speculation about Baldur's Gate 3 could be day one Xbox Game Pass title, which I think, if given given some of the challenges that that have been development related with Baldur's Gate 3 on the Xbox platform, I think that actually would be a pretty big announcement to announce what I would say is my game of the year. I'm playing it on PC right now, which is real quick, just a temperature check here. What's the best gaming platform right now?
You're all about that PC, baby. You know what it is.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, yes. PC, yes. I got to say, Logic. I'm really impressed with how many PCs you have. That's pretty impressive, by the way.
Logic is probably the one other person I know that actually has more than me. So yeah.
This is why we call it Logic. This is one of the reasons why we refer to you as the architect. But no, I think Baldur's Gate 3 would be a huge addition to Game Pass. I would only hope that people play it on Game Pass. I think it's a great game. I don't know if it's a game that a lot of people will play, though. I think we kind of saw that on PlayStation. I don't think the engagement numbers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the engagement numbers for Baldur's Gate 3 are that high on PlayStation. I'd have to go back and look again, but I don't think that was.
Yeah, they don't really publish their numbers, so we don't really know. But I mean, they seem all right with it. But that's all you can really kind of gauge is they're like, all right, cool, but they don't publish anything at all. So
yeah. So Logic, I'll go to you first. Do you think that Microsoft needs to step up to the plate here, have a great showing at the Game Awards this year?
I mean, I don't know that they need a great showing. So what we don't know right now is, are they going to do another Developers Direct in January? If they are, then they need to. In my mind, this whole thing about we're going to have a presence and we're going to show up at the Game Awards is counter programming, right, to try and get ahead of the negative sentiments that they felt that they set off last year by not showing up and having nothing but Game Pass commercials. So the question is, was the January Developers Direct part of their newly established cadence, and that's going to kind of become a norm, or was it a corrective action for the fact that they didn't show up at the Game Awards? And maybe they didn't show up at the Game Awards because they just weren't ready right after the June showcase, and kind of how everything had kind of fallen apart right by that point in terms of their projections. Maybe like I said, the January showcase was a corrective action. So, assuming that they're going to do some type of Developers Direct in Q1 of 2024, I don't necessarily think that they need to, they don't need to be out on stage as frequently as they popped Game Pass commercials last year, right? Trying to show the Game Awards is not the place to present their roadmap. From my perspective, what they need to do as a business to start to restore consumer confidence. Again, remember that the volume and the echo chamber from what we're seeing on Twitter is an incredibly small percentage of an already incredibly small fan base for Xbox. So those people who are on Twitter yelling, screaming, and shouting that Xbox is back because they've laid out a roadmap and they've showed us what a good chunk of the studios are working on. But then when you dig down to the next layer of that, none of those games have release dates, right? Or they have release dates of 2024. I don't even think a lot of them have gotten it down to a quarter. So right now, it's, from a projection perspective, it's vaporware. And then consider the reality that they're coming off of a year where, yes, they landed games, but by their own admission, they missed the 12-month plan. They put out some lame ducks that did come out, and even the games that landed at the end of this year were things that had 2 delays. So they're not coming off a year, in my opinion, that if you look at the track record from what the voice tracks were starting from the June 2022 showcase to final delivery, they don't really have a trend of performance that aligns with their marketing, in my opinion. So I think at the showcase, one of the things to do is I don't particularly need them to announce more new games. I don't need them to show up. I mean, eventually we need to hear, more specifically what the coalition is working on, right, from a public statement, not rumors and not insider bullcrap, right? But I don't personally need them. I don't need them to come out and tell me more games that are in pipeline with no dates and certainty around them. I personally think the TGAs is the time for them to come out and lock some dates down for, say, 3 titles and to start to firm up their 2024 slate, right? To deliver, tangible backup to the rhetoric that we've heard from Matt Booty about, the 4 games per year, right? Because remember, it used to be 4 AAA first party games, and they've backed off of that, and so now it's just 4 games. But when he has talked about that in interviews, he has included things as big as AAA and things as big as like indie scale level of budget, and that, as we've talked about, like isn't what I personally want, right, for delivery. So he's already started talking about 2024, and he's already including like Towerborn, right, in that, and I'm like, okay, that's not, that can't be one of your 4 deliveries, right? So this would be a good time to come out and start kind of firming up what we expect to see and what we should have some reasonable expectations to get, right, in the subscription service and on the platform and from first party in 2024.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab this super chat here before I go to Nate. Boycott activity with a $5 super chat says, I usually guarantee Sony shows nothing. Right now with GTA releasing 2025, I'm sure everyone's in a rush to get their game out before November 2025. Thank you for that super chat boycott activity. Nate, what are your thoughts on Microsoft at the award show this year? I guess he's not back. He said he was going to be right back. All right, we'll get back to him when he gets back here. Yeah, Logic. I agree with you. I don't think they need to show a new game where that's years out. Frankly, I'd like to see something with Hellblade 2 because that's where they announced Hellblade 2. I'm leaning towards them announcing some bigger titles coming to Game Pass, but I'm not sure we're going to get any. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we do get like a new title. There is a rumor. There's some rumors out there that we could see something from Arcane Studios, their new game. But I wouldn't surprise me if we see some bigger titles come into Game Pass, and maybe we get. I'd like to see Hellblade 2. Just kind of see where they are with that. The Coalition's interesting because we haven't heard anything from Coalition in a very long time. We know they're working on the Perfect Dark remake. Maybe an update on that would be nice. But hey, they're teasing. They're saying, hey, this is news you don't want to miss at the Game Awards 2023. So we'll see if. But I also tell people to temper their expectations sometimes when Microsoft says these things.
Yeah, and for this iteration, I would be, again, assuming that thinking that they're going to do something big in Q1 2024. I'm also fine if it's a big DLC announcement. Like, I would be fine with a DLC announcement for Starfield. I would be fine to hear kind of a roadmap for Forza Motorsport, right, as one of those 3. I don't want to hear about roadmaps and drops for things that have been in the portfolio for a very long time. Like, I don't want to hear about the next, Elder Scrolls Online drop or the next Great Sky. Like, if I see a freaking what is the rare game again? Now I'm forgetting the name of it.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, if I get another freaking Sea of Thieves things, like I'm just gonna walk out of my room, go drink a beer or something. It's great for people who love that IP, but I'm not, and it seems like it shows up every single time, and like that's not the compensating factor for me.
It doesn't move the needle for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I think they just. I thought they just had a Sea of Thieves DLC announcement this past summer. Yeah.
Yeah, they just had a big drop in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, because this is where they drop. This is where they drop the mode of the server or whatever, where you can go and there's no PvP.
Yeah. Yeah, and some people speculate that they're going to announce a new version of the Series X. There's that rumor, like a diskless version with like 2 terabyte. 2 terabytes of storage, hard drive storage.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really. Let me just be like, I don't give a shit about that. I didn't really care about the PS5 Slim either, right? Like, I mean, when the PS5 Pro shows up, then I'll sit up and pay attention. And when a SKU shows up from Xbox that again moves the needle, and it's actually something for me to pay attention to, and is more than a cosmetic, paint swap, then I'll pay attention. But like a 2 terabyte thing isn't going to do anything for me.
No, that's fair enough. I hear you. I mean, I wouldn't be excited about that announcement because I don't own a Series X. I don't plan to buy another one because I'm gaming on PC. But I can see how some people might get excited for that. So it's going to be interesting. Tomorrow should be fun though. It's a celebration of the gaming industry. I really hope people enjoy it, but I know some people won't. Unfortunately, I'm sure we'll see arguments and people, as you say, Logic, foaming at the mouth. But I'm looking forward to the show, and see what other trailers, see what other studios are working on too. Because it's not only Xbox that shows stuff; it's the industry in general, third party publishers, indie developers that will show games that they're currently working on.
Well, the other thing is, for people who are speculating and believing that, who I assume are propping that up, like again, what does that do for the business? Like, they're not selling Xboxes now. What is delivering a 2 terabyte model with the exact same compute and the exact same games library going to do for their competitive performance on the market? Like that's like people aren't going to suddenly go run and buy Series X's because that has an extra terabyte of storage.
Well, I mean, Logic, when you think about it though, like when Johnny and Susie go to the mall with their mom at Best Buy or go to Best Buy, and they go into Best Buy and they see the Series X at 2 terabytes at, $500, and the unbelievable deal of Game Pass at $17 a month or $12 a month or whatever it is, with all those games and first party day and date. I mean, hey.
Well, it is a competitive factor. I mean, I know you're trying to make a cynical remark, but that is an actual tangible, valid conversation that happens. I mean, but we know that conversation results in them having 9% of the current console install base.
Yeah, and that's why I started cynical about that, because there were people at the beginning of the generation that were using that scenario, saying, "Oh, this is why Xbox is going to outsell PlayStation this generation." I was like, "Whoa, let's pump the brakes."
Yeah. So one thing I want to go back to.
By the way, I'm not discounting. I agree with you. I'm not discounting that argument. I mean, that's certainly a valid argument. From if someone is looking for that value, they want as we talked about, cheap entry to gaming and access to a big library of content. And yeah, I mean that's a fair conversation.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, it's actually, I mean, just like we were put on the spot, like I think a week ago or a couple weeks ago, people were like, well, what did you expect from them? And like I said, I expected it to be a little bit more of a dogfight. I expected them to be within 10 million units of PlayStation 5. And to be quite honest, I would assume that this is surprising Xbox too. I would have thought that all of the hype about how powerful the Series X was, and the access to Game Pass and day and date, I thought that would have had a larger market dynamic than it has. But one thing I wanted to go back to, I know you guys mentioned PlayStation numbers, right? And I was pretty certain they do actually report these. So Piscatella, when he puts out the Circana numbers, does now put out the player engagement numbers for each platform. So they're out for October. They were out for PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. The thing is that is that Baldur's Gate does not report those numbers at all. So that's why Sakana doesn't have them. Not only their sales numbers, but also I don't think that they report player engagement numbers. Pretty sure
Okay.
that was his explanation. But I'm looking at the chart right now of game engagement
Mm-hmm.
for all three platforms.
Yeah. You know, I'd like to see a sequel to Killer Instinct. I'd like Microsoft to announce that. That actually would be cool, because Killer Instinct was actually one of my favorite Xbox One launch games. So probably not going to happen. As much as Phil says we hear you, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah. Nate, are you back? All right, he stepped away. All right. Yeah. So, Logic. Anything else before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right. So I do want to go to an IGN article today about Bungie. I'm going to read this real quick from this paragraph or so from what IGN is reporting, what they're hearing from developers working at Bungie currently, commenting commentary about the morale internally at the studio after the layoffs that just happened. What was that, a month ago now? Maybe a month and a half ago. I don't remember now. But as it, and I'm going to read this quote here from IGN. As it currently stands, Bungie is on paper a fully independent subsidiary of Sony, because there is some chatter out there that maybe Sony takes over. But its board of directors has been divided since the takeover in July of 2022. Among its current members are PlayStation Studios lead Herman Hulse, Sony Senior VP Eric Lempel, Bungie co-founder Jason Jones, Bungie CTO Luis Villegas, and Bungie CEO Pete Parsons. The board as a whole is split between Sony and Bungie representatives, with Parsons serving as a tiebreaker vote. But speaking to IGN, under condition of anonymity, multiple current and former Bungie employees described a department meeting that took place shortly after the layoffs, in which leaders hinted that this shared power may not last forever. Sony did not respond to IGN's request for comment on this piece. Bungie declined to comment. While the exact details of Sony's deal to acquire Bungie remain unknown to the public or employees, sources say they were told by leaders that the current split board structure is contingent on Bungie meeting certain financial goals. If Bungie falls short of certain financial goals by too great an amount, Sony is allowed to dissolve the existing board and take full control of the company. It was with this threat looming that Bungie leadership, not Sony, according to Parsons, made the choice to lay off roughly 100 employees last month. So, Logic, as you hear this, would any of this strike you as being abnormal if Sony was to take over Bungie based on poor financial performance?
Actually, I don't know, BRAP. I was still looking at player engagement numbers for Baldur's Gate. What was the source of what website was the article you were reading from?
This was IGN. Do you want me to read it again?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so no worries, man. All right, per IGN, as it currently stands, Bungie is on paper a fully independent subsidiary of Sony. Now, also in this story too, I should mention that some of the developers who were anonymous sources here within Bungie, developers per IGN, were saying that morale's kind of low. Morale's been low. Leadership's kind of been very short with staff. Even diversity, equity, inclusiveness groups have the morale there has been low as a result of the layoffs and kind of leadership being they didn't use the exact word cold, but kind of just being cold. That's probably the best way to describe it. But I'll read the article again, or the two paragraphs.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I read it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I do remember your question. Does any of this strike you as unusual? So first of all, when you ask me, does any of this strike me as unusual? Are you asking, does the composition of the board of directors strike me as unusual, or does the company employee thoughts and mention as a, them being indicated as the source of this supposed notion that Sony might muscle in and take over a kind of a majority of the board of directors of Bungie?
Actually, the first part you brought up was a great question. Actually, all then. Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first would no, that doesn't strike me unusual at all. It seems illogical and rational and not a non-commonplace approach to an acquisition that, for a lower business unit that maintains, that maintains its executive structure, with an independent board of directors, right? That is not part of the Sony corporate hierarchy. It also indicates to me that acquisition was solely aligned really to PlayStation and not to Sony Corporation in general, right? So that doesn't strike me as unusual. The thing that also doesn't strike me as unusual is the notion that and I'm not saying this to denigrate, right, anyone's opinion, but the notion that a bunch of employees who are not in the senior executive ranks do not sit in the conference room at the table where these meetings and discussions take place, spooled up in a department meeting a rumor in a notion that something's going to happen, and that some ragtag gaming journalist outlet latched onto that as a proof point is not unusual to me at all. I've gone over this time and time again. And again, it's not meant to denigrate it. I was part of this pool. When I was down below the ranks of middle management, I participated in the conversation around the water cooler, coming up with every wackadoodle theory and notion of what was going to happen that was nowhere near the truth of what was going on. Because I didn't know, because I wasn't inside the veil. I wasn't part of the trusted circle. I didn't know, I didn't know all the marketing, all the dynamics. I didn't know how the marketing guys interrelated to the engineering guys, and how the engineering guys felt about program management, and how program management dealt with contract. Like, it's just a dynamic that you don't get the visibility on when you are, quite frankly, and again, not saying this to denigrate, when you are a mid-level software developer, right, whose 8 to 12 hour workday is focused on building a new physics model. You just don't get the insight into these things. You go to a company all hands where hopefully most companies try and have some level of transparency, but how often do all hands happen, right? If you're lucky at a really engaged corporation, once a quarter. But I would contend that that's even unusual. I would expect more so twice a year. And so that these things got spooled up at a department meeting is nowhere near factual corroboration of what's actually going on.
But in fairness, though, yeah, go ahead.
And like I said, somebody with the journalistic level of IGN taking off and running with it, is no more impressive to me than Jason Schreier, right, latching on to something that is, highly skewed and taking off and running with it as well.
Yeah, but in fairness, Logic, I will say this though. I mean, whoever IGN spoke to did say that, and they spoke. It seems like they're confirming this from multiple current and former Bungie employees that described a department meeting that took place shortly after the layoffs, in which leaders hinted that this shared power dynamic lasts forever. So it sounds like that may have been communicated, that part.
Yeah, but it's not a statement, right? Leaders hinting at something is not a statement that that's the way things are going. That can often come up from, and again, if you've
that's true, that's fair.
Hacky centipede, right? When a CEO says, "Oh man, it'd be really great if something happened," right? One of the things that you wind up getting accustomed to is how, as middle management and executive management, is how you latch onto that and find out, is that really what they actually wanted to happen, or was that, again, just some high-minded, like, philosophical statement? And you see other managers run off and again take that thing and run off to the races with it, right? And then you get a bunch of people doing gymnastics and turning cartwheels over something that was never actually the strategic intent. So again, like the notion that the board of directors would be shaken up at a partially integrated subsidiary is not a small manner of muscle movements. And so people hinting that may have happened, sure, maybe that topic got brought up, maybe that math formula was discussed, but it just doesn't have the weight of actual strategic intent of what they expect to do going forward.
Yeah, and what do you and so what about if Sony? I think the second part of the question that I had was, so what about Sony maybe looking to dissolve the existing board to take full control of the company? Would that be something that would be unusual? And again, per the story, like this would happen if certain financial goals weren't being met by Bungie. Would that be unusual for that to happen?
I don't personally think so. I mean, again, I talked about their board structure not being unusual for a company that is for a subsidiary that's been partially integrated. But by the same token, it wouldn't seem unusual to me to go, hey, we tried it this way. This way is not working. The market dynamics are changing. I mean, quite frankly, I said, Xbox doesn't really present a competitive performance threat, but they do present a competitive center of mass threat, right? Just in terms of total volume on the market and the multiple places and where they're positioned and kind of the multiple points of entry that you can't get through now without going through them or without engaging with them. So it's absolutely, we've talked over the last few weeks about how personalities get really shaken up, right? When you have movements of CEOs and how that can, send strategies off in a 90-degree vector. So the fact that, Sony's, not really settled right, PlayStation, sorry, isn't really settled right now on what their leadership is, definitely means that, a new person coming in and taking that seat, may have a different thought about how this whole thing is set up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that, just looking at the business, the financials themselves, like it wouldn't surprise me for, the company that owns a subsidiary would come in and say, wait a minute, something's amiss here. We need to step in and course correct.
Well, here's the joke, because I'm certain I can imagine the personality types of the people who are saying, oh, yeah, see, that's a problem. Those are the same people who are pom-pomming for the same company who just did the exact same thing with Bethesda.
Yeah.
Because Bethesda was operating independently, now they report up through Matt Booty.
Mm-hmm.
Along with all of the other studios, right, within the Xbox division, outside of Activision.
Yeah, it's just this is good. This is I do find this story fascinating, though. It's clearly it's a developing story. I find it fascinating, just maybe getting a little inside baseball here, but there. I mean, there's just in my opinion, logic. I think there's something here that's happening. Obviously, there's a lot we don't know. But I'm also not. I've seen people on X today or Twitter running around saying the house is on fire. I'm not saying that, or I'm not blaming Sony for this. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the future.
I mean, can you hear me just fine? I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, because I'm doing it on the road, but I brought my headset with me. So, yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's nothing's going on. I just think personally, as someone who was paying attention to Destiny firsthand, who actually, this is something that I paid attention to for a while, because I quit Destiny at a really specific time, Destiny 2, and I played with some absolutely die-hard people, and around the time that I quit, which was a little after the Witch Queen, so it's about 2 years now, like they've had nothing but a straight decline in player base since then. And it's just gotten more and more drastic and more worse, especially as, we talk about what a stellar year 2023 was, and that just drove more and more people away to be like, well, like in the meantime, between time, I'm going to go play something else, right? And even some of the people, like I said, that I know that were just absolutely diehard in it, they are even like, I don't even care what the final shape is or when it comes. I'm playing this, I'm playing Phantom Liberty, I'm playing, they're getting into everything else but worrying about what Destiny is doing going forward, because like one of the things that irked me for the longest time is like I thought their monetization structure was out of control. which was a big concern for me hearing about them being brought in to mess with the monetization structure of potentially, the Last of Us multiplayer, because at one point it was purely cosmetic and all that. And I know you've played some as well, Brat, but um, the whole cosmetics plus the season plus the plus the expansion, like it was going from, like, I remember when the max package was like, for the expansion was like $60, then it was 80, then it was like 110 or something, and it just kept going up. And then it was also buying stuff during the season. Like it was a mess, man. It was like every time I turn around it was like another $150. So like I just think a lot of people kind of seen that, the lack of them listening to the community, um, all of this kind of culminating, of course, plus the sunsetting they were doing, people going in and realizing they can't even experience the entire story. Like, I don't, they made a lot of really, really weird decisions throughout the course of Destiny. And like I said, although the core gameplay is very, very fun, and whatnot, I just think all that culminated into this massive drop in player base that they just did not anticipate. And I don't really see how they didn't. Like, maybe they were too insulated. I'm not really sure, but I mean, I seen it constantly. I mean, Luca is one of the main people that we know that was just, again, just in love with this game along with Forte. And they, even around the time that I quit, were kind of tapering. They were still playing, but they were tapering, and Luca was playing other stuff. Forte was playing other stuff, and I'm like, as these people are that are constant diehards that are like, I gotta get my weekly in, are leaving your game. Like, you have a massive issue, and now they're down over 45% in the player base, and it's like they can't help but bleed people. I mean, that's just the reality of it, to be honest.
But Nate, when did at what expansion did you drop off?
It was right after Witch Queen. So I completed the Witch Queen, and then, like, towards the end of that, when like the next one was coming, I was just like, all right, I'm not, like, I seen the pricing scheme, the pricing model, and I was just like, you know what, I'm done. And I just kind of fell off after that.
So it's effective to say you essentially really dropped off at Lightfall.
You said, yeah, basically, yeah. So basically, Lightfall, yeah. Yeah, Lightfall was coming, and I was like, I'm just not seeing it. I'm like, everybody, like a couple people I know that weren't even really into Destiny were like, yeah, like, I'm coming back for this, baby. And then, like, that hype lasted all of about 2 seconds, and then, like, none of those people were playing Destiny. So it was
Right.
like it just didn't do anything.
So and I
But
get it, and I think the performance profile of Destiny 2 as a long lived game as a service is spot on. Um, what I would say is I think I so first of all I think the commentary that BRAP is referring to is is the house burning down at Sony slash Bungie, number one, and number two, was acquiring Bungie a mistake by Sony. And what I would say is the house burning down or the house on fire? Maybe. Um, but again, I don't
yeah, I was gonna
like.
say maybe on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if the house is on fire and that means Sony PlayStation steps in and takes control, I don't think that's unusual. And I kind of shrug my shoulders and I say, who cares? I mean, again, something apparently wicked this way came with regards to the Bethesda house, and that's why they've been incorporated under Matt Booty, and they're not out doing their own thing. And I mean, I'm not necessarily ascribing like a ton of conspiracy theory to, Redfall comes out, Pete Hines goes silent, then shortly after Starfield releases, Pete Hines leaves, and then the next thing we hear in the reorg is Bethesda gets tucked under Matt Booty. But the point is that all of these things are mathematically based, sales based, marketing based, and and those things happen. So kind of who cares? Um, what I will say about Bungie, on the point of was acquiring them a mistake. A, I don't know, but B, what I'll say is and you talked about it, and I kind of wanted to check the pulse point of where you dropped off. I kind of talked about get oriented in my head, kind of where how I felt about Destiny 2. And I had fallen off of Destiny
Hmm.
2 maybe a little bit before that, but I definitely came back for Witch Queen and stuck
Yeah,
around.
Witch Queen. Yep.
So Witch Queen sold incredibly well, got a lot of good praise, right, for the property. Lightfall things started to taper off, and definitely the final stage was really the big nosedive, and that was this year.
Yeah.
So for an IP, for a game as a service and an IP to have a runtime of 6 years is still pretty impressive. And
Agreed.
I talked a few weeks on this show about how most of what I see at Bungie is they just got too big for their britches. Like that, the size of that team before the layoffs was twice what it was. They were up around 800 plus employees, right, in size of the team. In my
Hmm.
opinion, they had grown much further than they had ever really anticipated. And I made the specific comment on the show. I believe that, looking at the management profiles of their leadership, that the size of that organization is also far beyond what any of them have been groomed and trained and mentored and coached to really be prepared to lead as far as the business goes. And then finally on the topic of, is the share of the board going to get shaken up, and are they going to lose some of their independence? My personal opinion, I mean, we could say what the composition of that board is all day, but Brad, you and I have talked about the notion of the benevolent leadership or benevolent dictatorship. I don't believe, any notion that Bungie is an independently operating subsidiary, I think has a notion of falsehood to it. I'm quite certain who the CEO, who the Bungie CEO is, knows who pays his paycheck, right? And he's not making any decisions kind of willy nilly, directly walking uphill against what he thinks, right, PlayStation wants or Herman Hulst wants. So, I mean, the composition of that board is kind of it's a whatever to me. Um, at the end of the day, I think personally think, the Bungie acquisition was not about Destiny 2. It's about what the future is and what part Bungie plays in it within the PlayStation portfolio. And if that leadership structure needs to change, then it'll PlayStation will just do whatever it is they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I definitely think that was what the purchase was about, and I spoke about that with people because I was like, obviously Destiny 2 is winding down. They're the final shape, obviously the name, being the final expansion. I just, like I said, I just think the weird thing for me with Bungie was just like the loss of touch was having a bigger effect than I think even they thought. And that's why I said, that's why I spoke about that big drop off in player base, obviously being an effect on, um, the amount of people that got laid off. Yeah, I also think it was a matter of they were just too big. Like you said, they got too big in the meantime. Um, but they just, I don't know, they were kind of lost to the response. Uh, they were making a lot of changes, like speaking fundamentally from someone like playing the game. They were just making changes that honestly I feel like this is a weird thing to for companies to get correct, which I speak about a lot, is when you feel like whether or not a game is respecting your time, where they're making you do too much busy work in order to obtain the reward, or the thing they got too insulated with these really long quests and all these other things going on, cutting a bunch of content constantly, which they finally stopped doing after people begged them for years to not do that. There were just so many weird decisions that came down the line. And then I also personally thought it was weird that they returned to a project for their next game, Marathon, that apparently was up at one point, and then they thought it wasn't a good idea and cut it. Like, I just never really seen a company do that without new ideas attached to it, because like obviously it got cut before, and then now we're hearing also some people that have got to play it. Just wasn't really sure. But yeah, hang on, I'll drop back.
Yeah, I mean, I fell off Destiny 2 after Forsaken, really, and I felt like the things Nate was talking about, which is, basically the level of, and I think that was about the time that it also went free to play, and I think, what drove me nuts and kind of showed, you know, how they were just kind of making things more complicated than they needed to be, was when they kind of rewrote, your entry point into the game, when it was still kind of the gosh, what was that thing called? It was still kind of the Red War campaign, but it was some kind of aberration of what the original Red War campaign was. And I was like, okay, I don't know why we're doing that. Maybe it's to make it more efficient or skip some things, but it surely makes things seem really convoluted. But then the other thing was kind of the things Nate talked about, which is what pissed me off at the time was, look, I wanna come in and I want to sit down and I want to play the game and I want to be told, right, where I need to go and what I need to do. I don't want to go do this run fetch and not have it be clear to me, like, where my next mission is or who I need to go talk to or whatever. I'm not interested in going off to Google and figure out, what, goofy sequence of quests and things I need to do in order to make this thing happen. And some people are into that. And that to me was kind of where it started turning the corner, and really, they doubled down on the whole notion that it was an MMO and really went like the really deep World of Warcraft route, where like stuff like that is the norm. So, but and then, like I said, the Witch Queen brought me back, but then things fell apart kind of shortly after that. And like I said, the final shade. The last thing I'll say is I think, regardless of the business part of it, I think the creative struggle that they've had, again, this is just my personal opinion, is that they've been trying to take this hugely epic thing that they've built, which got far bigger than they had ever anticipated, and wound up being this continuing story, which I personally don't know of anything that's really done that and held the tethers together over that length of time, other than maybe, like I said, World of Warcraft. Warframe is kind of in that way, but Warframe to me is just highly chunked up, where there are parts of the lore to me that make sense, and then there are parts of the lore that seem like they're like a completely different, second set of Chronicles or whatever. But what seems to me to have been their creative problem is they've grown this really massive story. It's kind of the Game of Thrones thing, right? It's then all of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, you need to wind this down and figure out a way for the story to end." And since they've been trying to end the story, it just seems like that's where they've really lost their way and have really struggled.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Game of Thrones. It makes you think of George R. R. Martin. He's still working on those books. And HBO just concluded the series. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. I just, it's just, to me, it's fascinating to see kind of how, like, just hearing Nate and even hearing Slow-Mo and Luca talk about Destiny, and I never thought I'd see Forte just go cold turkey and stop playing, but he did. But I fell off when I had to start like Googling or watching YouTube videos on things. That's not what I wanted from Destiny, and that wasn't my experience prior to Destiny. But I look, the time that I spent with Destiny, I enjoyed it. I'll never forget those big raids and the excitement around those raids. The Vault of Glass. I still have memories of that. That was such to me, like it's probably still one of my favorite raids of the raids that I did do.
Yes, Vault of Glass is phenomenal.
Yeah, like it was like
so many good memories, bro.
Yeah, it was. It was. I hate using the word epic, but it felt like that. Like it was. There was platforming elements in that, in the Vault of Glass. There was. It was. And then what was the second raid? Which one was that? That was. Who was the raid boss for the second one?
Is it Oryx?
That was Oryx.
Was Oryx?
It was Oryx. Yeah. Yes, and I remember. Oh man, I just remember like, get the hammer, go get the, or get up there, hit it with the sword, quick,
yeah,
move.
Yep.
And of course I remember everyone showing up with Galahorns and just taking him down. And that was just, those are great experiences. And then I felt like they lost me when they started taking away those experiences, when they started taking away and nerfing some of the weapons that I really spent hours trying to get. It took Crota. Thank you, Gregor Vadu.
Mhm.
Crota, I mean,
Crota.
yeah,
There you go.
not
It was
Oryx,
Crota, then Oryx.
there was Oryx,
Okay,
yeah. Which Oryx was not my favorite of the raids.
I wasn't a big fan of that one either.
No.
When everybody had to gather in the middle, and then everybody had to shoot in the center mass,
Yeah.
so you don't get murdered.
Yeah. But the
Yeah.
the
But
puzzle
like you said, they played such a big role, and they were so much fun, and there was so much experience in each of these things, and experiencing your raid group getting better and better. Like, I remember how intense it was at first doing Vault of Glass, and then like how we would joke and like play around and like drag other people through like Vault of Glass because we could just do it so easily eventually, and then like you said, we had the Galler horns and all this other stuff, but then eventually they just got obsessed with nerfing stuff. And this was a big mistake where I said they needed to separate the PvE of the weapons and the PvP, because then they were making adjustments to weapons for PvP, which was then degrading them for PvE. And like you said, it was just killing the PvE experience, with raids and so on and so forth. And like you said, you put in all this time to get some of this stuff only for them to just make it weaker.
Yeah, and that's kind of when
definitely.
they lost me. Like, when they started nerfing certain weapons because of PvP. But I'll say this: like those experiences, those are the experiences I will always remember. It was so much fun.
It was. I completely agree.
Yeah.
D1 was it, man.
Yeah,
D1 was so good.
Yeah, and the Warlocks. Oh my god! Like Warlocks for me, the Warlocks had the best gear. But I ran with the Titan class, and yeah, I just the Crota one. I just remember. I remember just sitting up on the perch and hitting him with the Gallahorns. There was a squad of us, and he would just go down, and then somebody would have to go grab the sword, jump up to the platform, and I just remember that the excitement in our voices, like, oh, go, 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 and oh, get out of there, get out of there. He's and just the level of communication and the puzzle elements in the raids. That was peak Bungie to me early on. And I got to give them their flowers. I thought even despite the challenges the game's having now, the fact that it's we're 10 years. Has it been 10 years? 10 years into Destiny.
It definitely has been, man. I was a whole different person back then.
Yeah, look, it's still a thing. That's impressive. And I thought Destiny 1 was. I saw Gregor Von Doom say, or Vex in the chat say that definitely Destiny 2 was revolutionary. I never experienced a game experience like that before. Raids, trials, nightfalls, and fun PvP community. Yeah, I mean, if you were a console gamer, that was new, for the most part. So, I'll give them their flowers. I absolutely will for making that game. But
agreed.
Yeah. All right. I do want to
say later. Yeah. I think they just lost touch, man. Sadly, and now they're kind of like flailing to find out what to do, where to go. Maybe the final shape will rejuvenate it, but I mean, I personally don't anticipate going back, so I'm not really sure what they're gonna do. Like, if they got me back, I'm gonna tell you right now that 45% drop off wouldn't be a problem, but it would have to be a drastic change. Just they'd have to bring a ton of stuff back. Like, there's just a lot missing. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on. I didn't want to dwell on it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and I can't speak to World of Warcraft. I haven't played that in 20-something years, it feels like. So I don't know where that is today, and I don't know if that's lost its popularity. But I can't imagine keeping a live service game like that for 10 plus years is easy. So all right, I do want to move on to Grand Theft Auto 6. We did see the reveal trailer. Was it Monday? I think it was Monday. Yes, it was Monday because it got leaked, and then Rockstar. It's interesting. I was mentioned this to Logic earlier in the day. I said, I said to him, I had actually seen the leaks on Facebook like the day before. On Sunday, and it looks so good. I'm like, this is a fake thing. This isn't really Grand Theft Auto 6. And then I see the reveal trailer, and I'm like, whoa. Okay, that actually was it. Woe is how I would describe, and I mean woe in a good way, is how I would describe the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. The game looks, that trailer looks incredible. I'm curious to see if the in-game retail release of the game will look like that, but what we saw was just great, and they captured, and they're going back to Vice City. If you haven't played the second Grand Theft Auto, or not second Grand Theft Auto, the follow-up to Grand Theft Auto 3, which is Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which takes place in, which is basically a parody city of Miami and South Beach, but they go back to Vice City here in Grand Theft Auto 6, and it really captures some of the essence, I would say, of Miami South Beach. Like I've been to Miami South Beach during Ultra Festival Winter Music Conference, and some of the debauchery you see in the trailer, like that's actually that. I see that. I've seen that. But I was just, again, I was wowed by how great this game looked, this trailer looked. And we do have a release year of 2025, and this is probably going to be a day one purchase for me. I'm looking forward to it. The protagonist is female. I did see some people upset about that, which is like, I just don't understand that. Like,
I love it. I'm ready for it.
yeah, if the people saying, "Oh, it's woke female protagonists." I think logically you were saying that people
there is nothing woke about that woman.
I mean, like some people were suggesting she was trans. I think is what you were saying. Logic, you saw that. Some people were suggesting that and were upset. You know, and
people are just out here in left field apparently.
Yeah, the Tom Petty song was perfect, Ryan Linus. But yeah, I'm just like if who cares if she's trans or she's a woman? Like,
yeah, bro, I'm not worried about that, bro. It's
like,
GTA.
Like,
it's big.
Go play
it looks
else.
Amazing. Like, go crazy. And like you said, yeah, they could play something else, bro.
Play something
that
else.
was exactly what I wanted. I got the trailer that I am known to get when GTA gets revealed. It was huge. It was big. It was in your face. It was all the parodies of current, craziness in the news and all the stuff. Like, so like if you've seen it on Twitter already, people have found, the real life counterpart stuff to all the things that they put in the trailer. Like, I just love how they do that. It's very, South Park, how they just talk about everything, and it's all in there in parody form, and like they didn't tone it down at all, and I love it. Personally, like I said, the character, the main character, I don't really care if it's female or not, but what I was excited about for my girlfriend in particular was we always have the conversation about different characters and ethnicities and so on and so forth, and she's Mexican, so she was like, man, I want like the Hispanic chick, like, in a big game, and they like go hard, and I was like, well, like my thing with that is always, I'm like, what's the reason the character is that thing, and how, like, why, right? And I was like, when I seen her, I was like, okay, she's definitely, got a Hispanic vibe to her, some sort of Hispanic descent. I love it. I like what I'm seeing. It fits. It's Miami. Go crazy, right? Like, that's what I love to see. And I was like, look, you finally got it. And it's in the biggest franchise of all of gaming. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I think they're going to kill it. I think it was perfect. It was about time. They always mix it up when they come out with the new protagonist. The last one we had the 3 different protagonists. I knew it was about time for, a female one, and whatnot. So I don't know, man. I loved everything I saw about it. I'm just ecstatic, dude. I can't speak it enough. I said, just like you said, day one, like unquestionably. I mean, me and my friend were anticipating, sitting in front of the TV ready for this trailer to come out. Obviously it came out early because of the leak, but regardless, man, it that didn't dampen anything for us. We were both ecstatic and hype. And I mean, it's obviously an event. I mean, you're talking about the trailer broke Mr. Beast's 24-hour viewing record in like 15 hours or something. Like, that's how big GTA is. Like, I mean, it's just, yeah, nothing can bring it down, man. I love it.
I mean, there was a lot of media coverage too on GTA 6, the reveal trailer. But you're right. Like they capture like real life incidents that happen. Like the person with the hammer, the lady with the two hammers.
Yep.
The
hammers. Yep.
And the guy watering his grass, his lawn naked. That actually happened. Yeah, so.
Man. I love the way they just capture all that and just bring it in there, and it's just fun. They have fun with it. You know, you go crazy. I love the different the way they're NPCs, like the different NPCs, the different shapes of people they capture. When these are things that I pay attention to after being in gaming for so long. But just the different shapes and sizes of people when they were walking along the beach, and the thick women, the skinny women, the all the shapes, sizes, and colors. Like I love it, man. That's talent to me, to be able to capture all that in one game and do it so well. I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you and Nate. I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I even when I guess they show the protagonist, she's in jail, I think, and somebody's like, "Why? How did you end up here?" She's like, "I guess bad luck or something." So I'm curious to see her. I'm curious to see what her background story is going to be. And it looks
Agreed.
like
They always have great stories.
Yeah, and it looks like it's kind of like a Bonnie. There's a kind of a Bonnie and Clyde dynamic here with her and her significant other. There's that scene where it looks like they're in a motel or something. So,
yeah. No, man, I think people, like I said, people have forgotten, and I talked about this with somebody the other day. People have forgotten how much of a crazy event it is when these things release, because it's been so long. Like everybody's been, GTA Online for so long, and the role play stuff on custom servers on PC and whatnot. But man, when GTA single player comes out, it goes hard. Like I just don't think people remember how diverse and how crazy it is. Like there's a reason no other game has directly been able to challenge GTA in that same realm, because like the diversity in quest and stuff that they have in the game, the way you go through all these different things. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I think people forget, like there's animations that take place in GTA across the scope that you only use one time. Like when you do the heist where you under the water and you actually do the torch to cut open the grate, like that's an animation and stuff that they only created for that instance. There's not another time you do that. Like that's how hard they go for each quest. How unique they get, and Trevor blowing up the house when his competition was moving in on his area. You drag the stuff outside and set it on fire. Like GTA is just on a different level, man. And people about to remember when that comes out, man. It's gonna be an event, man. And we're all gonna be online for it whenever that drops too. I'm sure it's just I can't wait, man.
Yeah, no, Nate,
kids today just don't know, man.
And then I got to ask you, as a PC gamer, are you disappointed that there will not be a PC version day and date?
No, it's no big deal for me, because I'm gonna be honest, man. I always double dip. I'm not gonna be surprised. I know how Rockstar operates. It's been a long time. I have them on both every time, so I get my playthrough in with all the boys and girls. All the homies that have it on the console. We get it in. If a PS5 Pro is out by then, I'll have that too. You know how I get down. The best experience possible. So I'll be enjoying that however the best experience possible is at the time. And I'll give them the time to perfect it on PC. I totally get why they take their time with it. They want to get a proper port out. Also PC people tend to rip things apart. Like, I'll be honest, like, I mean, you see GTA RP and all the other stuff. So Rockstar likes to just get that breather of a year. So yeah, I'm not disappointed. It's going to go crazy. We're going to be seeing those 100+ FPS when, a year later, and we're going to be good to go. So yeah, not disappointed. It's expected.
Yeah, I think I heard you say event. This game the release is definitely going to be an event for sure. So, Logic, did you watch the trailer? And if you did, what were your thoughts?
I didn't. Nope.
Any interest in GTA?
Nope.
All right. Have you played any of the Grand Theft Auto games?
I played three and Vice City, and Vice City broke me, and I haven't been back.
Yeah, Vice City. I would say San Andreas and Vice City are my top three, and I'd probably put 5 up there as well. But yeah, I mean, my experience with Grand Theft Auto goes back before it was when it was like a top down game before it completely changed in Grand Theft Auto 3. But yeah, I mean, I was, Nate, I was hoping we'd get a PC release day one. But yeah, like you, I'll probably end up double dipping. So 2025 can't come here soon enough. We got 2 years, so. But I'm glad they showed us the trailer. I'm glad they finally.
Yeah, man. I think that was just the thing. Like, I'm glad the speculation's out of the way, and we can confirm, and we got a glimpse of how great it looks. I mean, I personally have no doubt that it'll look the way it looks. Like, Rockstar is a magician. Like I said, the last time, GTA 5 launched originally, was PS3, and it still was impressive back then. So, like, I know the way that they work on these games and the talent that they pull for these things, man. I have complete confidence it'll look exactly like it looked, because that was how I felt with GTA 5. Like, oh, it's just not going to look like that, this and that. And they delayed it a year. I always remember this because they had an issue on the 360 and then they had an issue on the PS3, and each of them took 6 months. So the game came out a year later than it was supposed to. And it was still just phenomenal. So yeah, I mean, I have no doubt it's going to look like that, man. It's just going to look even better. Like I said, if provided we have like a PS5 Pro by then. And then of course, when we experience the beast later, on my 4090 or 5090 or whatever the heck is out then.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a 60 series card at that point, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. I will say I do look forward to. I mean, the one thing I am looking forward to is GTA coming out and eventually getting to PC, and them then having that as a technology and a graphics platform for whatever other thing they're going to do right thereafter. That GTA tech is what eventually got the tech for Red Dead Redemption 2. So I'm much more excited about the other Rockstar games. So GTA is kind of a necessary evil for them to drive through, and I get it. So just get it out and get it out there on the market, and then you can take that technology and do something that I'm more interested in.
Yeah, that's a great point, Logic. This will be, like everything else will. Well, I say everything else, but I'm assuming like a Red Dead Redemption 3 is going to use, the technology, the engine behind Grand Theft Auto 6. So, and I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was a great looking game. And I double dipped on that one too. I got it on PC as well. It looked great on PC.
Yeah, I actually just went back and played that, and was just, once I had eventually I sold my 3080 and got a 4090 and went back and just to play that game and consistently get over 100 FPS, everything maxed out is just silly. Like, I mean, the game still looks impressive just on console, like, period. Like, I actually just beat it. I was like six missions from the end for like the last 5 years, and I just never finished it. But I went back and finished it. And then I was messing around with it on PC, and just like I said, it is just a whole different experience, man, at that FPS, and just getting to see the tech behind everything, turned up to the maximum on that game is just incredible. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Double dip all day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just disappointed though, man. Like, we're not getting the PC release, man. That's the one thing. That's hence in the show description I said, or not the show, what I tweeted out was Grand Theft Auto snubs major platform and it's PC. So
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, but
That's
the-
what you were
the
getting. That's
PC
what you were getting
version-
at.
The PC version has always come later. I mean, was there?
no, I know
mean,
it
well,
always has. Yeah. Go ahead, Logic.
no, I was just saying, was there some reason to have an expectation that it would be different this time?
No, man, just hopes and dreams, man.
We don't do that here. This is the Truth Network.
Hey, come on, man. Sometimes we can have hopes and dreams, man. You know, it's like
I knew people would
Yeah.
people would anticipate it, maybe, because I've seen so many, like I said, so many more people have come over to PC, and some people have been in PC but then have invested even more in their PC. So I knew there would be a set of people that were like, maybe could we, but I like I said, I already know Rockstar's very consistent, if nothing else. So Rockstar's not playing that.
yeah, no.
Well, I think another big reason for it to be going down this way, right, is because the GPUs that they really want to build that game for are not out right now, right? And so, this is a thing, and that's GPUs that they're going to stand up on the PC now, but then we'll also carry them into the next console generation, right? Because by 2025, we are going to be at the point where the GPU iterations are going to be the things that are the foundation for the follow-on console generation. And so by getting that version out on PC, you're going to be getting it out on PC based on technology that is also going to be the basis for next console generation. And really, at the end of the day, GTA 6's release isn't really about this generation. It's really about next console generation.
They always release it like they like to come in on the tail end and then re-release it, and then in culmination with the PC release. So yeah, they are a creature of habit, if nothing else, when it comes to releases.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, again, Logic, I just hopes and dreams, man. Hopes and dreams.
Yeah. Probably good for us to address a couple questions in the chat. I thought I saw one. I guess Priscilla and somebody else was asking, what do we think happens to GTA Online? I personally think what's going to happen.
That's a great question.
Is GTA 6 will come out, GTA Online will remain in place, and at some point, because remember they flubbed the first time that they tried to release. I can't remember, was it 4 where they tried to release the single player campaign and the online component at the same time, and the online thing was just a travesty. And so, I mean, they're definitely going to do a staggered release this time, and I suspect that they'll leave GTA Online in its current state online for some number of months after the core releases, and then they'll put out an announcement that says, "Hey, at some point, here's the date for GTA 6 Online, and the current GTA Online, will essentially be retired, or everything will just flip over, and you'll, pick up and carry on in stride on the new thing." I don't know if you're going to be able to carry all your stuff forward, or everything's going to be kind of, you starting over. I suspect it's going to be the latter. I do wonder, because they have all these, and I guess maybe Enate, you're into it more, or know people who are into it, where you have all these, what is it, I forget what they call it, the GTA Online role-playing servers or whatever.
Yeah, GTA RP usually takes them about a year after the PC release to really get it going, because like everybody kind of waits for like the first person to really do the groundwork, because it's always completely redone. So they're gonna really have to take their time with it, and probably, like I said, you won't see the first real server. I mean, at the fastest, probably 6 months, but it's super popular.
Well, they've hired those guys now, right?
Another reason. Quite a few of those people, yeah, actually, have been hired. Some of the original people that set it up, because that's the one thing to keep in mind, is like a lot of these servers don't do it themselves. Everybody just kind of rip the code from other ones and then set up their own servers. So yeah, they got the original guys that have set it up. But I know there's a big community of it out there, so you'll see it again 6 months to a year. But it usually takes a while because they got to get all the stuff, and then they rip everything and then transfer it over from other games. You know, all the Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all the real cars and stuff they put in there. So yeah, it takes some time, but yeah, you'll see that migrate eventually, depending on the structure of the new one. But yeah, I think they'll reward people, you know, who have obviously played the prior regular online and stuff like that and really leveled up and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be started from the bottom kind of thing, and I'm interested to see how they're going to do it. My biggest anticipation is that I hope that they parody things more. As far as in parody, as far as the single player, because like a lot of times, like there's certain things like they'll add like 100 cars to the online, but then won't add it to like the single player. Like I'm a really big fan of the single player personally. I like the online, you know, to be online with your boys and just have fun and shoot stuff up. But the single player is really where GTA has always shined for me. So hopefully they keep that in mind with this new release, because I don't anticipate another release from them as far as GTA for like another 10 years. So yep.
Yeah, they'll work on like the Red Dead Redemption 3 after that, and we won't get another GTA for like another 10 years.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this GTA was charting for, I mean, it was like on MPD, top 10 for like 5 straight years or something crazy. Because people
yeah, bro, it was never off of MPD.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Logic, go ahead, man.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I suspect that this time around there will be official GTA RP servers, and so I would,
you know, that would be interesting. That's an interesting take. Honestly, I think that would benefit them a lot. I would be really interested to see if they did that. The only reason I say that there would still be underground ones, though, Logic, and is because the thing that drives those servers is the actual illegal content in them, which is all the official cars. So like my brother and his Discord, they're all big into it, and they love getting the Range Rovers and the Lamborghinis and the real cars and being able to mod them. And they drag, a lot of people drag all that content from stuff like Need for Speed and stuff like that, and then they convert it into that and add it to the mod shop and things like that. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting way to see if they actually do that. But I think you're right. I didn't anticipate or even consider an official RP server. So yeah, that could be big.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I expect that the underground ones will still run. So I think you're gonna have both. But I think the official ones, because they're being done directly by Rockstar, and I assume that they're doing that because I assume that they hired all those people who had built the original GTA RP servers. I assume, I mean, this is Rockstar. Rockstar is Take-Two. Take-Two is Strauss Zelnick. He ain't doing nothing without the purposes of monetizing. So I'm assuming that they hired those people right in order to monetize them, and that. But I would hope that would allow them to get those RP servers up sooner than the historic timeline.
Yeah.
One of the other questions is, I think it was Ryan who said, do you think it'll really be out in 2025? Don't be surprised. I think he means don't be surprised if it is delayed. I'm not. So fiscal first quarter ending June 30th, 2023. So Take-Two reported that they expected a $3 billion uptick in revenue from fiscal 2024 to fiscal 2025. Their fiscal years run from April to March. So fiscal 2025, I think, is April of 2024 to March of 2025, I believe. So this should be a Q1 2025 release, I think, unless it's April 2025 to. I'll look that up. I'm looking at some of the information. I thought it was for the first quarter of its fiscal year 2024. ended June. Yeah, so it runs from the preceding calendar year to the actual year that they refer to it as the fiscal year. So I think I've heard some people talking about this maybe incorrectly based on that lineup. What I absolutely believe, Ryan, is there is no way in hell that they will miss Target such that it impacts that fiscal year guidance. So whenever it's coming out in a window that fits right before that fiscal year ends, which, like I said, I think the way I'm reading it is March 2025.
So I thought they they didn't give us so I'm sorry, Logic. So you're saying release date will be March 2025?
I think it's just I need to check myself because I have heard some other I've heard the big kind of commercial podcast talking about it coming out in April-ish of 2025 or in the summer of 2025.
That's what I've heard too. The summer 2025, early summer.
But those same people acknowledge the statement of the fiscal year uptick, and I would have thought that they would have then looked at what that actually means. So I can't be the first one pulling that thread.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah. Well, one thing I will say, this game's going to print a lot of money for Rockstar. That's for sure. Strauss Zelnick's going to get a nice bonus. And, I think this is going to be... it's going to be interesting to see what this thing charts on NPD or Circana when it releases. So, all right, jumping real quick. Tomorrow, the Game Awards... Finally, I want to get everyone's prediction for who wins Game of the Year. I'll go with you and Nate.
Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate. Hands down. I've actually got a bet with Priscilla in the chat.
What is Priscilla? Is she saying something else?
Yeah, she's saying Zelda. She's got 20 on Zelda.
Okay.
And me and like 3 others, we have a bet for 20 on Baldur's Gate. And then her and Kay in our chat, they both bet 20 on Zelda. So little bit in the pot, just for funsies, just to see. So she's looking for the upset with Zelda, and we're like, nah, Baldur's Gate all day. So yeah, it's fun. We're all gonna watch it together.
All right, Logic. What about you?
I'm also saying Baldur's Gate, but I'll add, if there is an upset, I'm not positive. I think the upset might be Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, I said that earlier.
And that's not because I'm saying it deserves it. I'm saying it may be because of recency bias and kind of what all the outlets that are the voting panel, kind of what I hear them talking about. That they may be gushing about Alan Wake 2 just because of, like I said, recency bias, and they may pull back when they reflect on earlier in the year and their experiences in Tears of the Kingdom, and slightly later, but in Baldur's Gate 3. But I hear a lot of gushing about Alan Wake 2, and so I wonder if the dynamic that's in those people's heads when they go in to vote is about, hey, Remedy's been doing a lot of great work for 10 years or so, and hasn't really come out big. Is this the time to reward them? Because the year that Control came out, Sekiro won the TGAs, but if I remember correctly, Control went to all the other award shows and swept up. I want to say, I think I could be wrong.
Control did get quite a few awards that year. I don't remember exactly what they won, but they won a lot with Control. And rightfully so. It was really good. But yeah, I agree. Alan Wake definitely could be some recency bias. I know some people literally all year have been kind of quiet, and then Alan Wake 2 came out and they were like, oh my God, game of the year. Immediately, they went crazy. So personally not for me, but I definitely did kind of get that vibe from at least the critics. They really, really, really seem to love it. So yeah, I think that does have a close chance.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Baldur's Gate 3, tomorrow's Game Awards show, but I agree with you, Logic. I said it early in the show, Alan Wake 2 wouldn't surprise me. Kind of that, I wouldn't call it an upset, but I would it wouldn't be surprised if Alan Wake 2 got the Game of the Year award. But I'm still pulling for Baldur's Gate 3. So we'll find out tomorrow. I believe the show starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, if I'm not mistaken, 4:30 Pacific Standard.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. And please, anyone who gets upset about the Keeleys, look, there's other award shows. Please check out those award shows as well. They're the Golden Joysticks. We have the GDC Awards. We have DICE. I still can't believe that a certain content creator wasn't aware of DICE and literally laid out that we need a show like DICE when DICE already exists. So on that note, I want to say thank you to everyone in the live chat for coming out and hanging out this evening. Appreciate the support. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And if you're new to the show and you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Yep, go ahead.
We're gonna talk about the Player's Voice Awards at TGA.
I wasn't planning. No, I haven't been paying attention to it. I know that Hogwarts Legacy did not make the top 5. But yeah, that's the latest and greatest that I'm aware of with the Player's Choice Award or Player's Voice.
It was pretty funny that the rest of it was pretty much what was voted for Game of the Year, though, because everybody was kind of like, the people who were upset at what was voted on by the critics, and then outside of Genshin Impact, everything else was like already Game of the Year nominated. So it was kind of funny how that kind of worked out. It was like, all right, you guys were mad, but if you look at what people voted for, it relatively came out the same again, outside of Genshin Impact. Like Spider-Man was still up there, Baldur's Gate, Zelda, so on and so forth. So yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I thought Hogwarts might get in there, but considering the popularity of the game,
it did get up there though.
Yeah, it did make it, like you said, top 10, but it did make it in the final 5. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Logic, did you have specific comments on the?
Nope. I just thought you should mention it. I mean, my only thought was, I know Hogwarts isn't up there. I wonder, the problem with all of these, and why I don't really give these like player voting things like a lot of credence, unless it's something like Golden Joysticks, when that is their basis of their structure. But with this one, I wonder, like, did the Hogwarts people who did pay? I mean, as widely as Hogwarts sold, that's an obvious indication that a bulk of the Hogwarts sales are to the demographic that doesn't pay attention to stuff like this. But I also wonder, for the ones that did, if they were so disenfranchised, right, from Hogwarts not really being nominated for much of anything else at the TGAs, if they wouldn't have bothered, voting in the Player's Voice. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, that could be the case too. I mean, it could be what you described, that a lot of people just aren't aware, don't really follow the award show, in the casuals. But
it's super weird to me that a bunch of Genshin Impact people showed up, though.
That was surprising. I'm like, how did Genshin get here? That was really surprising.
Genshin came out of it kind of just literally out of nowhere. Like I could see Honkai Star Rail because that's recent for them, but like, man, the Genshin fans were just like, absolutely not. Like, just out of nowhere. I was like, what in the world? Like, that game is relentless, man. The people who still play that.
Yeah, that was one that really surprised me. So yeah, but we'll find out who wins the Player's Voice Award tomorrow. So on that note, gentlemen, thank you again for your time. Nate, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Again, let everyone know that, well, if you want to be found, let everyone know they can find you. And please remind everyone what the best gaming platform is.
So you guys can find me at The Real Innate on Twitter. Again, always keeping it gaming, and y'all know the best place to play, baby. PC all day.
Indeed, PC is the best place to play. Logic, I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let everyone know where they can find you as well.
Yeah, so usually you can find me on the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on Sunday nights at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, this weekend, due to scheduling conflicts, we are bumping up our annual Gaming Superlative show. So I think this is going to be the 8th or 9th one. So we're actually doing that Saturday and Sunday night at our regular time of 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be doing part 1 and part 2 of our co-host awards across 14 categories. When I say gaming superlatives, kind of think about, your high school superlative awards, like most likely to succeed, class clown, most likely to, I don't know, grow up and marry a football star or something like that. But that's kind of how our categories are oriented, since we don't necessarily feel like we should be the ones declaring anything that sounds like a goatee. But so it's a little bit of a fun time, and it gets an opportunity for all 4 co-hosts to kind of throw in their picks for different categories.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to that show, and kind of get everyone's input into some of the games that they've enjoyed 2023. I might stream the Game Awards tomorrow. I don't know, depends. We'll see. I might do that, but if you're not following me on Twitter or X, BRAP_podcast, I'll let everyone know if I decide to do a live stream. I don't know. I was thinking about it today, but we'll see. I might just sit back and just enjoy watching the show on TV and just maybe do like a BRAP rant after the show. So maybe not Thursday night, but maybe something Friday before Crossfire. So, but everyone, thank you again so much for hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Enjoy the rest of the week as well. And enjoy playing video games, because that's what it's all about. It's about having fun. So we'll catch you next time. Thank you again. And I'm off to play some Baldur's Gate 3. Throw that out there.
Hey.
Game of the year. Game of the gen. We'll see you next time.